Have a story you want featured on one of my videos? Go to astheravendreams.com/submit or check the links below. Enjoy. I was about to post this a week ago, but I got distracted mid-writing and closed off Reddit. I'm sharing it here because it seems like the most legitimate subreddit for stuff like this. I feel like other subreddits consist of 95% fabrications, whereas here, people are genuinely confused and skeptical. Regardless, let's not get political. This happened around a year ago. I only decided to share it after a dream reminded me of it. I'll go into as much detail as possible, because if someone could give me a possible explanation of what I saw, I would be put at peace. I was hanging out at a friend's house with a couple more friends, chatting and drinking some beer. Now, I know how it sounds drinking beer, so just bear with me. We didn't drink too much. I get slightly tipsy and we lay off for a couple of hours, and we do some other stuff. I stop drinking completely at 11 p.m. It is now approximately 4 a.m., and I'm already completely sober. It's time for us all to go home, so we all split up and everyone heads home. One dude lives in my direction, so we start walking together. Let me set the scene and describe my town and the walk home so you can visualize it. This neighborhood that we're walking in is sort of rural. There are no apartment buildings. It's just one or at most 2-story houses on each side of the road. Every house has a stone or metal fence surrounding the garden, and the houses are tightly packed, so you have very good visibility of anyone that could be around you. There are occasional streetlights, but they're pretty old and most of them don't even work. The moonlight is illuminating everything pretty well, though. Now we're chatting on our way home, but most of the time we just walk in silence. It's not uncomfortable, and both of us are just tired and just want to get back home. We're about 100 meters away from my friend's house, walking in one of those silent moments, and something in our path catches my eye. We don't slow our pace down at all. In these parts at this hour, you often see a wandering bandit or a drunkard, and the policy is just to pass them like you haven't seen them. So, I thought we were about to have one of those encounters. In front of us, maybe 30 meters away, is a shadow, smack dab in the middle of the road. A couple of things instantly don't make sense in my mind. The shadow stands still just enough for us to notice, and then it starts casually walking to the right as it reaches the sidewalk. It kind of disappears. Now, there are a lot of reasons why this kind of freaked me out. Firstly, at this hour, it's very quiet. There are no cars, no birds chirping, and I could hear someone's footsteps from a mile away. I heard no other footsteps. No doors opening or closing. Nothing but our own footsteps. As soon as I realized that what was in front of us wasn't some other person, I looked around. No other person in sight, no open doors, no animals, no lights on, other than the streetlights. Also, the streetlight was further ahead and there were none behind us, and that shadow was very easy to notice. When we passed that spot later, our shadows were barely visible. At this point, I'm 95% sure that what I saw didn't make any sense. But I keep a poker face on and just pretend like nothing happened. I didn't mention anything to my friend at the moment because I didn't want to sound dumb or drunk. After all, what was I going to say? "Hey, watch your step, bro. There's a shadow person in front of us." We pass the spot where the shadow was, walk a couple more feet, and my friend says, "Hey, did you see that?" I reply with, "Are we talking about the same thing?" He says, "I think so." And we continue in silence, almost just trying to figure it out in our brains. We reach his house and we split up. I joke, "Hey, watch out for that phantom," and he just laughs awkwardly. A couple of days later, we're going to hang out in the same house, and I pass by the same spot while walking to the house, and I stop for a minute to inspect the place. There are no windows or lights in any house or garden that could project that shadow in the middle of the road. I had a feeling that wouldn't be the case, but I confirmed it just in case we were being dumb. In the house, we share the story with our friends. We take turns sharing parts of it, sort of like we're both testing each other to see if we saw the same thing and to make sure the other person isn't just trolling. Of course, no one else believes us, so we just joke about it a bit, call it a phantom, and just have a laugh. I haven't mentioned it again since then, because as far as I know, my friend's parents are very religious. As for him, I'm not sure, but I think he's atheistic. Regardless, I'm playing it safe, and I don't plan on bringing it up again. What I was surprised to hear was that he had no idea what it could be either. He's a very scientific, no BS kind of guy, so I figured he would give some sort of hypothesis, even if it was wrong. Another thing I forgot to mention, sorry for being so unorganized. The shadow wasn't exactly a two-dimensional shadow on the road. It was in the middle of that, and a 3D silhouette, kind of like it couldn't make up its mind which dimension it wanted to be. I can't really explain it. Then again, it happened so long ago that my memory is a little foggy, so take that with a grain of salt. I've struggled to find any possible theory of what could have caused what we saw. It couldn't be our shadow. There was only one. Its base was coming out of nothing, and it stayed still and then moved to the side while we were walking in a straight line towards it. Also, it was very apparent, but when we reached the place, which is closer to the street lamp than we were, our shadows were much weaker. It couldn't have been a person. We got pretty close to it, and both of us saw the same thing. Also, no footsteps or doors opening for the person to just vanish. It couldn't have been a light in a window projecting someone's shadow. The shadow was human-sized, indicating that something close to the source could be creating it. Also, it moved half the diameter of the road without shifting in size. It couldn't have been a car passing behind us, as there literally was no noise pollution. We would have heard it. Also, the lighting did not change to indicate headlights. I'd be very happy if someone could give me a theory that could at least make a little bit of sense. I know physics can be weird, but I've never seen or heard anything like this. So, you'll have my respect if you can come up with something reasonable just by reading this text. Thanks to everyone that's stuck with this so far. I decided that if I was about to share this, I might as well be as detailed as possible. So, a while ago, maybe 5 years or so, me and some friends broke into an abandoned house. The front door was completely blocked off and sealed, and you would have to destroy it to get in that way. We got in by breaking a window in the backyard and climbing in. It was a long abandoned home. The architecture was early 1900s, maybe even late 1800s. It was quite interesting, actually. We found a bunch of old books, newspapers, and notes gone brownish yellow from age with the dates on them from the 1920s to 1930s. I remember one handwritten note had the date of May 1930. Something. I can't remember the exact year, but it was the 1930s. It had the date on the top, and it said something like, "Dear so-and-so, how is your family? How is your child with the flu? Are they all right?" And blah 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 stuff like that. Anyway, there was stuff everywhere. All over the place. You could barely walk. There was destroyed furniture, a doll collection, a broken grand piano, and books and stuff like I already mentioned. This is important to remember. So, we went to explore the basement of this house, but we couldn't because the stairs leading down were destroyed. The first 2 steps from the top were there, and then a giant gap. Then the very last step before the bottom. The stairs, or what was left of them, were old and crappy looking. They were cracked, dark brown, and moldy. So we said screw it, and we left. The next day we went back with another friend, and this time there was a ladder laid flat over the giant gap in the stairs, with the rungs acting like makeshift steps. We thought this was a little weird, but figured that someone else must have come in when we weren't there and laid the ladder over the gap to get to the basement. We ended up climbing down the ladder and exploring ourselves. After that, we left. The next day, for some reason, we went back again. This time, though, the stairs were intact. No ladder, no giant gap. All the steps were there, and I'm not talking repaired. If someone had repaired them, they would have looked new compared to everything else in the house. New wood and whatnot. But they didn't. They looked old and crappy like everything else in this house. Old, dark brown, cracked, molded wood. These stairs were not repaired. They were just never broken to begin with, which was completely impossible. We had seen them broken just the night before, and there was no way someone brought tools into that house. Not through the sealed front door and all the crap lying all over the place, and then repaired the steps in one day and left. There's just no way. We kind of freaked out seeing those stairs, and we left pretty quickly after that. I'm not really a supernatural kind of person. I don't believe in ghosts, or even glitches in the Matrix for that matter, but to this day, those stairs give me the heebie-jeebies. I have no idea how they fixed themselves, and I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. To preface, earlier in the day, Sunday, February 28th of 2021, I had a porcelain cup of lemonade and a small plate for snacks a few hours before dinner time. I had brought them upstairs to my room to continue whatever it was I was doing at the time. After I've had my fill, I'd gotten the symptoms of itis, food coma, and decided to go lay down for a bit in bed, scrolling endlessly through TikTok. But before I knew it, I had dozed off into a light nap. This is important because you're asleep, but not deep enough for REM to start. The glitch begins here. Everyone else in the house was fast asleep. For whatever reason, I had this dreadful feeling, almost like a pit in my stomach that hit me over and over like a wave of uneasiness. The best way to describe the feeling I had, it felt as if I were having an anxiety attack while resting my eyes. Physically, my body was just exhausted and asleep, but my mind was very much awake and racing, trying to understand why I was feeling the way that I was. I eventually wake up at 11 p.m., even more tired and groggy than before. I go rinse my face with cold water and try to fully wake up. I had then brought the porcelain cup and plate downstairs to the kitchen sink and left it there as I warm up some dinner. I finished my meal and cleaned up, washed the dishes and set them aside on the drying rack. Side note, dinner didn't require any extra dishes, so the only thing that needed cleaning were the porcelain cup and plate from earlier. I go back upstairs to my room to put on YouTube in the background as I play Destiny 2. Fast forward, it's about 3 a.m. I get parched, so I head downstairs to get a drink. As I head by the sink to grab the same porcelain cup on the drying rack, I notice that there's another set of the same cup and plate in the sink in the exact same position I had placed them in earlier. Now, mind you, the sink was empty when I was last downstairs, and the cup and plate that I had washed were still on the drying rack. Perplexed by what I was witnessing, I go and examine the cup and plate, and it had all the exact same dried lemonade stickiness and smell on the cup and food crumbs on the plate from before. Now, again, mind you, I was the only one awake, and there's only one set of that cup and plate as they go together in this household. So, it was to my surprise when I found them in the sink again at 3 a.m, with the same unnerving feeling as when I fell asleep. Little short backstory. Last year, I moved into an apartment building that had a laundry room open at all hours. I was up at weird times, so I would do my laundry at like 3 a.m, and almost no one was around. I would get a drink or something at the vending machine while I waited for my laundry to finish up. Anyways, the months passed by and everything was going okay. And then one day, things felt weird. It just felt off. When I went downstairs to do my laundry, it seemed like everything was a bit fuzzy. I didn't really think much of it, and I just started doing the routine. Anyway, I hadn't shaken that weird feeling off, and when my dryer timer went off, I went to go get my stuff. In front of the vending machine, I saw the spitting image of myself from when I had just moved into the building. Black shorts, Beat Farm shirt, and my hair pulled up into a tiny man bun. I even had the tattoos in the right spots. This wasn't a still image. It moved, and it looked at me. I had to stop looking because one of my neighbors came in the front door asking if I had seen his buddy, who he had been missing for 8 hours. I said I hadn't seen him, and when I looked back to me in front of the vending machine, it didn't end there. My neighbor was still looking for his buddy, and he had gone outside to the back of the building to meet up with some of our other neighbors to look for him. They were talking about seeing weird lights in the sky, and something I noticed, which put me really off, was the lack of cars. We lived right up against a highway, and even at 3 a.m. there were always cars. Yet there were none. It was silent. And then, the missing neighbor came downstairs and had no idea that he'd been missing for 8 hours. All he remembered was getting into his car to go buy some cigarettes. He had no idea how he randomly spawned back into his flat. So what happened? A thin spot in the fabric of time? Faulty universal wiring? These aren't the only things that have happened at my building. I'm fully convinced of the whole of it was some sort of dimensional bubble of sorts. Hi everyone. I've never read anything about this sun flickering thing. Honestly, that's the best way that I can put it. I just found this subreddit and I want to understand more about this phenomenon. Is it real? A hallucination? I don't know. Have you ever noticed a sudden flicker in the light, as if you blinked so unconsciously that you caught yourself by surprise? That's kinda what it feels like. When experiencing it alone, I always thought it was a sudden eye blink that I didn't see coming because I was so focused on whatever I was looking at. But there was one time where I wasn't the only person who experienced it. Me and some friends were having lunch together. The entire place was lit only by sunlight, when suddenly, everything was void of light for a fraction of a second, and then went back to normal. My two friends looked at me, and one of them even screamed something like, "Oh my god, what the hell?" He looked confused, so I said, "No, I saw it too. The light just went off and came back on." They both agreed. We just moved on and pretended nothing happened, but it was very awkward. Years went by and I kept having similar experiences by myself, and never thought they were more than something only I saw. Something weird about me that I usually just ignored. They were rare enough. But this year, it happened again. I was with a friend in her living room, entirely lit by sunlight and sunlight only. We were sitting on the floor, painting some artwork when it happened. Honestly, I didn't pay much attention to it at first. Maybe I got used to ignoring it, but I did see it. That was when she stopped and said, "Did you just see the whole room flicker to dark and back to light again?" She looked at me and I saw the confusion in her eyes. I said yes, and I told her about my experience years back with my friends at lunch. That is when my curiosity for this event grew. I know for some, this may sound like a huge lie, but these are all facts and real events of my life. I'm here to share them and know if there's anyone else out there that has a similar experience, or potentially has an explanation for this. So that was a collection of Glitch in the Matrix stories, as you probably are already aware, seeing as how it is Monday. And if you're listening to this, you probably listened to the video already. I didn't think that through very well. Anyways, let's move on to the word of the week. The word of the week last week was Minatory. Minatory. And let's just do this in random order, because the screenshots got named randomly whenever I took them, so here we go. 242 reads. Started with the happy birthday, thank you. Yes, when I met John, he did seem to be scary. Some might say he had a minatory way about him. I found out he was a serial killer, and he stole my heart. Yes, you can see it on the mantle. Be careful before he steals yours as well. Very dark turn on that story very quickly. Thank you, 242. Next up is W. Pendarvis. I'm giving this one to them because this was really good. They did a really good job with the puns on the word minatory, which I'm not gonna argue. Doesn't quite use the right definition, but I mean, I'll accept it. Raven video should be minatory watching for any paranormal investigator. The perfect gift for guys. I say give minatory spelling video. If you lived in the 18th century England, would you call most men a Tory, or would you call most men a Whig? I liked that one. The monster of Crete with a man's body and a bull's head looks real minatory. Again, pretty good puns with that one. I liked it. Thank you. Next up, we have Eliza H. Glitch stories are fascinating and wondrous, but rarely minatory. Good use there. Arlene Freeberg with, loved this glitch video, Raven. Brilliantly narrated as always. Perhaps your next paranormal video will contain some dark and minatory spirits. Perhaps. Thank you, Arlene. Next up, we have Annie Red DJ. Appreciate you and all you put into your videos. Well done and thank you. Have the best of birthdays on Thursday. Thank you again. Word of the week. Thankfully, for those that experience them, Glitch in the Matrix stories may be disconcerting, but rarely minatory. And then next, I believe last, we have Rainy Days. Glitch stories are the least minatory stories on your channel, but they're some of the most interesting. I'm still waiting to experience a glitch myself. Happy birthday. Alright. All those are fantastic. Thank you guys. Those were awesome. Really well done. This week's word of the week is incogitant. Incogitant. I-N-C-O-G-I-T-A-N-T, and it means thoughtless or inconsiderate. I'm curious to see what you guys do with that. Alright, friends. If y'all enjoyed the video, please do hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed, hit the bell icon, change to all, follow me on my social media platforms, and consider following over Patreon, Patreon or channel memberships, or supporting over Coffee. All of it's optional, all of it's greatly appreciated. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you on the next video, but until then, my lovely friends, sleep well.